There we go. Welcome, Joachim Atunwa, a doctorate degree in marketing, and the topic 8 strategies for survival for businesses and individuals. We're now gonna listen to 8 very specific strategies. The floor is yours. Welcome again, Joachim.
Thank you. I'm told that the host has disabled my screen sharing.
No, just go there. You
Oh, where are we? Where are we? Where are you? There's so many pictures. Joaquin, where are you? There you are. Hold on.
I hope you can see me.
Do you have
Yes,
the
we can
permission?
see you very well.
Okay,
You should have the screen sharing permission now.
I think I have it now.
All right. There you go.
All right.
Please press F5. Press F5 to get started with the slideshow. Joachim?
Are you okay?
There we go. I guess the students got that point very clearly.
Okay, great. Let me say from Nigeria, good evening, everyone. I know that we're on different timelines. Some other people might be in the day. We're going into the night here in Nigeria.
All right.
It's been a very long day, and the energy level may have gone down with some people, but those of us that the pandemic and the attendant lockdown has made to be able to hours, we can actually sit for 10 hours without worrying. So thank you for the opportunity for me to be a part of this. I would like to add my voice, as I've said, to commend the AIU family. It is wonderful to be on this platform. Today, I'm going to be speaking on 8 strategies for survival for businesses and individuals. As I have been introduced, my name is Joachim. I'm doing my PhD in strategic marketing. Let me drop a few caveats, maybe excuses before I begin. What I'm going to present on is inspired by a book that I'm doing that is still in the works. And the volume of that book is much more than I can try to compress within a short period of time. But I'll do my best to make sure that I touch on the critical points. Number 2 excuse I want to make is that I may be repeating some of the themes that have been recurring in the course of this presentation, so you do bear with me. And finally, to say that this is almost late into the night. If you experience any visual or audio interruptions, I'm in the house. I have actually been working from home since the pandemic. Okay, so once again, I thank you, Dr. Lambert and Dr. Valsin. Thank you, AIU. I'm happy to be a part of this family. I'll begin. Why is it, my screen is not moving? Okay, the book that I want to talk on is, I've titled it Testing Positive, 8 Strategies for Survival. And you will ask, what motivated me to want to work on this book? We're all aware that the pandemic took the world and humanity by surprise. And like anything that comes to people like a surprise, it has also created a very serious subculture, one of which we begin to experience in the description people give. Oh, it has produced a new normal. I am going to say in the course of this presentation that I might sound a bit controversial. I know that the pandemic and the associated lockdown has made people to have their own formed opinions about several things. I'm going to share some thoughts that you may not agree with, but I would like you to please look at it from my point of view. One thing that has happened is that the survival of individuals and businesses after the pandemic has not been discussed as much as what is on the center stage, which is the survival of now, the survival of the COVID itself. And I think it is important for us to note that post-COVID-19, survival post-COVID-19 is perhaps more critical for those that have already become survivors. For those of us that are alive, we have become survivors by the grace of God. And therefore, we must talk about what is life promising us after COVID-19. Going by evidence from history, we can say something for certainty. This is not going to be the last of such pandemics. We have experienced from history 6 major global pandemics. This is the 7th, and it's not going to stop. And therefore, my thesis is that if we do not, the reason that we're suffering so much consequences is simply because humanity was not prepared for it. It caught us unawares. My thesis is therefore, if we do not design appropriate post-pandemic survival strategies, we all might suffer serious consequences. And that's the motivation. And that's what I want to talk about in the whole of this presentation. So let me provide some context. My argument is that the restrictions that we have been experiencing across the world today due to the pandemic has compelled all of us, whether we were prepared or we were not prepared, to adopt the virtual way of life, the way we now live, the way we work, the way we play. It has also created a new buzzword that you call the new normal. And this word, new normal, has made a lot of people to believe that we are already in the new normal. And I say we are not. We are not. We're not in the new normal yet. Now, my system is misbehaving. I don't know why it's misbehaving suddenly. Sorry, please. Trying to. Okay, so my argument is that now is not the new normal. If there is anything we can say, now is a preparation period for the new normal that will come. We are at best in a transition period into the next normal. The new normal is yet to come. It is not here. And as much as we continue to think that it is here, the more erroneously we focus our attention. Now, a lot of people believe that the digital realities and the Internet of Things that have characterized this present dispensation is as a result of the COVID-19. No. If we peep into history, we will discover that as far back as 1950, for instance, there had been serious work on trying to computerize the way of things. As far as 1990, again, the likes of Tim Berners-Lee and his team in Europe created the online world that we call the World Wide Web. Now, since that time, this digital of love has long existed before COVID-19. In truth, it hatched in the 1950s, and since then, the world has been shifting slowly but steadily from analog to digital way of life, work and play. If that past appears dim and remote for us to recollect, let us think of the 1990s when Tim Berners-Lee and his team created the online. I have taken this from my write-up, in quotes. So, even with the accelerated speed of this digitization and the Internet of Things, I am arguing that we have not reached a comfortable destination that we can call the new normal. And I will make that point very shortly. I've noted future phenomenal occurrences, whether they are of the COVID-19 type or other, are certain to occur. What is important is that the consequences may be more devastating if humanity fails yet again. Prepare. So, for me, and this is where the thesis is, COVID-19 pandemic provides ample learning opportunities for us to prepare for life after COVID-19. As an individual, I am to learn from it. As an employee of an organization, I am to learn from it, and the company I work for must learn from it. As a member of the human race, I must prepare, and humanity must prepare. Only those institutions, organizations, individuals that take learning from this present situation and apply it to the future will survive. when the next normal comes. So, what have I done? I have employed a technique that touches on what the world is afraid of to say, test positive. And I know it's going to create suspense on anybody who picks up the book to read when it is. But thankfully, I have also given it a subtitle that relaxes the mind to say, oh, it is talking about survival post-COVID-19. I got inspiration from the work of Geoffrey James. Anybody who has read his 1997 book called The Giant Killers will understand that Geoffrey James was prophetic when he looked at a cross-section of industries across the world, from the United Kingdom to America to the giants of Asia, and he reported that the companies, businesses that were doing comparatively better, that were thriving even in the midst of various kinds of uncertainties, were those that moved or shifted from what he called the traditional mindset to an electronic mindset. To my mind, the old normal represents in the new dispensation the old mindset, the traditional mindset, and a life that has been accelerated by the present pandemic compels us to move to what he calls electronic mindset. That is where my inspiration of my presentation. So how have I presented it? It's going to be coming up in two sections. In the first section, we deal with the reality of where we are, where humanity is at the present moment. And in the second section, we ask the world to test, and the thesis of my presentation focuses on the second section. So if you permit me to go a bit back, where is humanity today? I took a bit of liberty to visit different kinds of literature, and something that comes out across is some kind of frightening figures. And when you listen to or you watch CNN, you will see millions and tens of millions of infections, millions of deaths, and things of the sort. World Health Organization tells us the kind of money running into billions of dollars that would be required to lift people off the dungeon into which the pandemic has plunged them. In the second chapter of that first section, I decided to ask myself, how did humanity get into this mess? And here I am looking at various theories, whether you call them conspiracy theories or any kind of legitimacy theory. I'm looking at speculations. I'm looking at suspicions from, oh, Wuhan infected the world simply because of its bad dietary habits. Oh, China infected the world as some kind of manipulation to attract attention to itself. Oh, it is the agenda and the machinations of the Western world to decimate the population of the developing world, and all sorts of theories, speculations, and suspicions. In the third chapter, what I tried to do is to ask others, what is actual meaning of this buzzword called new normal? And my argument is that it is a misnomer. If you check through the dictionaries and those that have made effort to define the concept of normal, there is nothing happening now that qualifies to be called normal. If there is anything, everything that is happening now is abnormal. And to that extent, I try to juxtapose what is happening as part of human experiences, especially in the area of change. And to be able to say where exactly we are, I came up with three defining situations. One is that we are now in unusual times, not the new normal yet. Number two, we are in crisis, and everybody that spoke before me has talked about the crisis and the consequences. But the beautiful thing is that we know that crisis always occasions distortions, and it is the distortions and the consequences and the dimensions of these distortions that we are currently suffering. We are not in the new normal. And I'm saying now is at best a transition period that is creating tension. And we know in human psychology and the organizational management that the worst that happens is when humans and organizations are adapting to change. So we are in a period of transition that is rift with tension.
Are you there, Joachim? We seem to have lost Joachim.
Can you hear me now? Because
yes, we can hear you now. All right.
Where was the last you heard me?
Yes, we hear you now very well.
Okay. So I was saying that where we are at the moment can be defined under three powerful situations: unusual times, not the new normal yet; in crisis, that is occasioning phenomenal distortions; and in transition that may lead us to the new normal, which I prefer to describe as the next normal. Because we are in transition, we are experiencing tension in different guises. So what are the implications for us? There is an African adage that says, when the rhythm of music changes, the dance steps must of necessity change. That means we must try to understand the true nature of the tension we are going through and then live out its demands. And to do that, I'll go back to Jeffrey James's book that talks about a shift from traditional mindset to electronic mindset, to say that to survive post-COVID, we need a holistic strategic shift. I'm not talking about migrating to the digital or virtual way of doing things or the so-called Internet of Things. No, I am talking about an all-encompassing shift that starts with even mindset. It must go beyond COVID testing negative in the COVID test to every individual and every organization and every institution desiring to test positive for the benefit of all of us. So I'm sure you're going to ask me, what is the meaning of testing positive? Do we want all to test COVID positive? It is an acronym that I have built to represent the strategic initiatives that every individual, every organization, every institution, and indeed every country must adopt to come out of the challenges and to face life pleasantly after COVID-19. And unpacking it, it comes to preparation, optimization, strategy, innovation, technology, integration, vision, and evolution. So let me try to say one or two things. I once went, in the heat of the pandemic, I once went to a bank in my country, Nigeria, Lagos, and it was a heavy rainy day. Unfortunately, I had gotten to the premises of the company before the rain began. Unannounced, it was like heaven was let loose. And those of us that had cars scampered into our cars. And I saw so many people badly drenched by the heavy downpour. Question was, what happened? There was a long queue outside because entry into the banking hall during the very dire circumstances of the pandemic became regulated. Only about 2, 3, 4 people would be allowed into the banking hall, and therefore large queues, long queues, and queues and queues. What did that teach me? Oh, the bank was not prepared for this situation. They would have been able to build shelters outside. They would have been able to develop platforms that allow people to do more of digital or online banking. They would have been able to, the simple thing was, we were caught unawares. So what I am preaching under the strategy of preparation is that we must use this period that we are erroneously describing as the new normal as a preparation period, a period of tuning up and down for the right frequency to get that kind of fidelity in the music of our individual lives and in the music of organizations by creating, first of all, through reorientation, the enabling mindset, developing the right philosophy that will embrace virtual, by recreating our vision and orientation, by redefining the processes, procedures, and policy, and we can go on and on and on. I am saying that a preparation period is where we are now, and that preparation must be all-encompassing. It is a time we are going to retool. It is a time for us to re-examine everything, to know whether we need to stay on our position or reposition. It is a time for businesses to ask whether they need to retarget or continue to address their existing markets. It is a time for policy adjustments. It is a time for employee opinion and moral modulation. And we can go on and on and on. And ask me, how do we prepare? How can a business prepare? And I've said it, there are 1,001 models out there for us. For instance, if we want to use the 4M model, or we can say, what do we need to do when it comes to men? That is the human resource. What do we need when it comes to money? That is the financial and all associated realities. What do we need when it comes to machine? And then we can begin to think about technological infrastructure. What do we need when we mean materials and all that and all that? We can also say, oh, we want to go a bit more systematic and take McKinsey's S model and begin to look at systems and all that and all that and all that. What I am saying is, for us to live and thrive post-COVID, we must prepare now. Now is the time. The whole of the history of humanity shows that we were always caught unawares by pandemics. It is unfortunate that in the 21st century, we were caught unawares. History did not point us to it. History was there, but we never looked at the pages of history. Science predicted. A couple of years ago, we were talking about the end of age cycle. A lot of people took it as spiritual. A lot of people understood it in mystical forms. But the truth of it is that there was a prediction that the world should have looked into to say, what is the implication? Perhaps COVID-19 was what was preached, but let's leave that one. So ultimately, what we want is to be able to seamlessly, positively transit into a life that will become normal after the COVID. Second strategy I would like to suggest is what I may call optimization. And what I'm talking about is not optimization the way organizations and individuals look at it. We are all students of marketing, we are all students of history, we are all students of industrial behavior and relations. When we talk about organizational optimization, the tendency is for us to look at how to, relate production and associated expenses, cost cutting, cost saving. No, as we go into the next normal, that is the next normal, we must shift towards consumer-focused value optimization. We must have that reorientation, a strategic shift, a shift of paradigm, and begin to focus on optimization from the point of view of the consumer. And this is going to be all through his purchase consumption journey. Meaning that from organizations, we have to take cognizance from even the point of conceptualization to the point of production, to the point of distribution, to the point of sales, to the point of disseminating information about it. It has to be said. The new meaning of value optimization, I am not saying we should lose sight of financial optimization, no, but I'm saying emphasis should shift to what I may describe as the value coefficient of the consumer. For instance, how do you deliver value to the consumer in the way that is faster than before, safer than before, cheaper than before, more anything than before. So for a business, it is a call to strike that delicate balance. It is a call to seek out that best fit situation. And by way of trying to make it come alive, I've developed what I call the 6-way imperative. Number one would be experience of the present dispensation. Meaning it shows us that money is in short supply. No matter how creative anybody tries to be, money is in short supply. People have lost jobs and are losing jobs. Opportunities, even though Adiola has given us a positive impression of the huge opportunities, those opportunities do not come to everybody. Those opportunities are not exploited by everybody. Those opportunities, yes, may be hanging there, but their realization may be different. And therefore, the value coefficient to the consumer must take cognizance of cost, and therefore recommending some kind of just cost adjustment strategy vis-a-vis consumer satisfaction. Number two, companies that have been thriving well within this period are those ones that did the little extras to make their consumers happy, in spite of the additional cost that such initiatives would have on their bottom line. I am saying in this new dispensation, it is time for us, even in our homes, to do those little things that can make life a better thing to live. For organizations to begin to look for those things that will mitigate the pains of the consumer. And a question is, we all know that technology is at the base of digital reality and the Internet of Things. The definition question I'm asking is, what is your internet? What is the IT doing for you? And so many opportunities have been presented to us on how IT can be leveraged. But for you as an individual, for me as an individual, for the company I work for the state I come from, for the country that I come from, for institutions, what is IT doing for us? That will be the beautiful scorecard as we want to go into the next normal, which will become the dominance of virtual way of doing things. Of course, we can't overemphasize the fact that analytics is important. And for organizations have learned that if they can run lean, they will be able to save a lot to transfer the value to the consumers. And we can go on and on and on. The next important strategy I would recommend to every individual and business in particular will be, around your strategy selection. It's important for us not to pretend about this fact. Everything has changed, or let me say, literally everything has changed. If I wear my marketing cap, I would say the P's of marketing have changed. The competitive landscape of everything has changed. The definition of what a market is has changed. Maybe 20 years ago, nobody would look at Jumia as a market. Today, Jumia is an online platform. Can we define a market without including the online? Definitely not. We need to have a redefinition of the consumer. His behavior has changed due to not only demographic, but more importantly, psychographic and lifestyle factors. So if the music rhythm has changed, the dance steps must change. If the market, the marketer, the marketing, the consumer, his behavior, everything has changed, our strategy must fall in line with these changes. So it requires a total strategy rethink. The reason is because the strategies that drove the businesses of the old normal cannot or may not drive it in the next normal. So we must begin to look at the kind of strategic options that will help us. For instance, as we are in this preparation period, we need to experiment, for instance, between tactical short-put strategy versus long-term strategies. I think it is not the time for organizations, businesses to begin to make long-term plans and strategies. No, they have to be a bit tentative. They have to be a bit more tactical. Number two, experience has shown us that one way to remain lean and swift is in resource optimization that will deliver value optimization. Now, we need to ask ourselves, is this the time we want to operate in silo, or are there organizations, families, individuals that before now we thought were our competitors? We can begin to cooperate with them. We can begin to collaborate with them. We can begin to, as the concept says, competition. It is now cooperative competition. I worked once in a telecommunications company, and I was so annoyed that of the 4 major telecommunications companies in Nigeria, each of them was hosting their masts separately. And the madness in my head was asking me, why would they not, unite forces, mount masts, and put their antennas facing different directions? Even if geography may tell me that I was wrong, but it is an idea. It is the kind of cooperation. It is a kind of collaboration that will allow you to save resources and convert the savings to value optimization to the consumer. We need to ask ourselves, between inward concentrated and outward strategy that can give us synergy, where do we go? I think in the new dispensation, the latter will be our approach. So we need to define new strategies for our consumer, our marketing, our sales, our selling. And we can go on and on and on. We need, because of the consumer is on the edge. This is not a time of gimmick. This is a time of brand transparency. This is a time of involving him. This is the time of realizing where he is moving to and adapting your sales strategy to go with him. The next thing, because of time, that I would like to talk about has to do with integration. I mean, before now, when we mention integration in business settings, we'll be thinking about integration of functions, integration of units, structures, processes, strategies, business portfolios, etc., etc. While these integrative strategies remain germane and will be consistent over time in business operations, there is a call for us to re-examine the concept of integration. In the post-pandemic era, the temptation first will be for many organizations to try to overrun their old ways with the new ways. But I am saying, let us look before we leap. Let us be cautious. We need to ask ourselves, between the old, because we're in transition, between the old and the new, which one is the best option? Should we actually be in a hurry to dispense, or should we take it as a learning period to know a possible admixture of the old and the new? And if we want to explore, we must explore possibilities and merits of bringing them together to see if they will give us synergistic advantage. But if we do a proper analysis and we evaluate the options, we might then realize that it is better to go completely new, or for the meantime to remain old. For instance, if we want to integrate, we're going to ask ourselves, are we going to integrate the entire process or a part of us? Are we going to change a part? Why are we going to do that? Are we going to continue the old or entirely the new? Why are we going to do that? The questions I am saying, remember that my thesis is that this is a transition period, a period of preparing to really function optimally when the final normal arrives. The next is technology. I know that technology is an old invention. It has always been there. It has always influenced the way we do things. It has always influenced methods. It has always, from the industrial to the present, the production and service have been facilitated by this powerful phenomenon of technology. So it at its height. It awakens the technological giant in some organizations.
It looks like there is one of our attendees with a mic open in the background and causing trouble. If you would please mute that microphone. Thank you.
Organizations and individuals to move ahead. Virtual meetings. As I said, I work for an organization since March last year. We have been working from home. how are other organizations responding? Technology is key. We noticed that China, for example, used the ant drones to deliver materials to virus-infected locations in the country. For every individual, what is technology doing for you? I belong to a club that is supposed to be an enlightened club. And during the pandemic, we could not hold any substantive meeting because the club was populated by some analog members. They would not easily understand that this is the new way. And therefore, even though they carried phones and bought airtime and bought data, they could not convert data and airtime to technological capabilities that would then facilitate life. So the question that everybody must ask, and I've asked it before, is what is the new thing and what is the different thing that technology is doing for your business? Is it helping you to create better products, services? Is it helping you to distribute better? Is it helping you to relate better? How many of us do video calls with our families? How many of us, get on the internet and take advantage of TikTok and create exciting moments? At the individual level, the same thing can be asked at the organizational level. Many governments up until this moment, especially in the African continent, have not been able to come to the reality that that is the next normal we're going to embrace. For now, we are doing digital and the internet way of things as mere coincidence, as mere accident, as mere reaction, as mere response to a circumstance that came upon us. But I'm talking about technology that is deliberately prepared to become the way of life. From a tool that enabled us to respond effectively to the pandemic, how can it now help us and the digital capitalists to become the norm? How can the technological way, how can the Internet of Things, how can virtuality, how can remoteness become the norm? Now is a time for us to prepare. The next I'm going to talk about is innovation. Again, I start from what we know and what we're used to what I want to suggest. We have known innovation before the pandemic. Innovation focused on operations, focused on organizational functioning, supply management, core competence, sales and marketing, products and stuff. Yeah, beautiful. These are all dimensions that we experienced innovation. My thesis number what is businesses that seek to thrive in the post-COVID-19 era must reassess their innovation philosophy. What are you innovating? Who are you innovating for?
Therefore, don't forget, please, Joachim. Joachim, don't forget, we have about 16, 17 minutes for your presentation.
Of innovation.
Are you listening to me, Joachim?
All these things. We must focus on financial and other tangible returns to consumer emotional return. The consumer invests money in your business. The consumer invests his emotion in your business. His patronage is the reason you continue to run as a business. That is an investment. What is his or her return from the company? We need to redefine the concept of innovation. What are you innovating? To whose advantage? We must then develop enduring matrices for measuring our innovation capabilities. And I can mention just 3 for space of time. What is the consumer or customer satisfaction indicator that you are innovating? If you are innovating the product without the reason, if you are innovating what the product does for the consumer without the consumer having a new feel of what the product means to him or her, innovation is still in the old order. If your innovation does not bring about differentiating capabilities, if it continues to help the products before you, if it continues to help the services before you, that innovation will not thrive in the new dispensation that will come. If innovation does not arouse the capabilities that would drive competitive advantage, the reason that you exist, whether as an individual or as a business, that innovation will fall flat in the new dispensation that will come. Next is vision. When I talk about the strategy of vision, we know that if you pick up 100 global brands and interrogate their visions, you are going to see statements like this: oh, to be the first, or to be the best, or to be the biggest, or to be the... No, that was old. That was old. Vision that focuses on primacy of entry into a market or sector, vision that focuses on being preemptive, vision that focuses on scale, on size, on might, on market share is no vision. It will not survive. It will not take you to the promised land. There must be a twist in the vision.
Joachim, can you hear me, Joachim?
Sorry, can you? Are you talking to me?
There are about 10 minutes for your presentation. If you could wrap things up a little bit so that our attendees could ask questions.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello.
Are you there? Are you there, Joachim?
I can hear you.
Yes, what I'm saying is there are about 10 more minutes for you to go with your presentation. If you could wrap things up, summarize so that our attendees could ask questions.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm concluding.
All right.
So the next, which is the last, my slide is Ms. Bevan, is what I have called evolution. I'm not going to look at evolution from the theoretical, historical point of view. I'm saying all of us that are sitting, attending this meeting today, this symposium, this seminar, this conference, thankfully, we are all survivors of the dreaded, and we believe we'll continue to survive it. The big question is, has your business evolved into an entity that is fit to live and thrive post-COVID-19? Finally, I will say, if you have no self-screening device and capability, go to a brand health screening outfit today and check your status to be sure you test positive. My caution then, test positive now or risk huge consequences post-COVID-19, whether as an individual or as a business. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Joachim. That was also another very thorough presentation. I would like to ask you now to turn your presentation off so that we can see the students. There we go. Anybody who wants to ask questions to Joachim at this time? I see several hands up. Let's see if I can begin with Beleti Mekuria.
Sorry, apology, Dr. Frankly, yes. I can't find where to raise my hands. I could only find thumbs up, clapping, and the image that shows.
Okay, there is a menu. There is a menu. I don't know exactly what system you are using, but there is a menu at the bottom that allows you to, let's say, go to the chat section. It says chat, C-H-A-T. There are some other reactions that you can also send. The menu at the bottom shows reactions. So that's exactly where you need to go to either raise your hand and get ready to answer questions or make a comment as kind of other questions within the chat window. All those menus are, all those menu elements are at the bottom of your screen.
Dr. Balkin, I had the same problem. Before, mine was showing the hand raise. All of a sudden it disappeared. And so when I go to reactions, I get only clap and thumbs up. So I don't see raise hand or hand raise anymore.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what we will do at our next presentation is make sure that we have a tutorial and a long, very accurate guide as to how you could navigate through your screen using your system, regardless whether it's a tablet or an Apple computer, a PC computer, Linux, and so forth and so on. We will have specific instructions as to how you can navigate through the entire process. I sincerely apologize if you have had some kind of inconvenience during the process, but as I said again, we will make sure everything is better designed for next time. Thank you very much for expressing your concerns.
May I please ask that? Could you please give me opportunity to ask questions?
Yes, go ahead, Friday.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Joachim. I have some question based on your presentation. You have said in one of your presentation that we are not here in the new normal. I want to ask, what do you mean that we are not yet in the new normal? For instance, you have been working at home right from March 2020 to date. Before this pandemic, you go to work every day, right? But because of this pandemic, you now work remotely from the comfort of your house. So, and this has come to stay in most organizations. I tell you, most organizations will not even want to go back to the normal way where you have every employee congregated in the offices because they want to reduce costs. So the era we are now, Dr. Joachim, is the new normal because it has come to stay. It's not going away. I'm very sure of that. Then number two question, you talked about there is no need for each organization to have their own mass, whatever, they can come together. Don't forget, particularly in this part of the device, there is what I call the spirit of competition, always wanting to outshine the other. So collaboration effort is between organizations is one of the things that have refused to work. Even Central Bank of Nigeria, in most cases, came up with plan for deposit money banks to collaborate together and achieve a particular goal. It never works. Then finally, talking about digital approach. Before, digital approach is the best way to go, especially in the era where we are. But there are some challenges, particularly in Africa, where you have connectivity issues, where somebody who is not living in the urban city find it difficult to access a good network. Even as we are here, AIU, there are some people that their network was, tricking off. Not to talk less of Africa. So, what is your suggestion? Because to get digital working, which is the best thing.
Okay, so let me jump in real quick as you were asking a question Friday. I hope that Joachim does understand the question. If you have a new insight for us, Joachim.
I do, and I'm going to take it. Now, the beautiful thing is that if you take time to look at standard dictionaries, consult 20 and ask what is new normal, you will be shocked at the definitions you will get. Normal, which is the key word, is standardization. It is universality. I have background in sociology. what we call a social reality is not what affects an insignificant part of the population. What is the level of penetration of digital devices, knowledge, and all? How many organizations are living fulfilled lives within this, what I call accidental digital way of life? Now, when something is normal, it becomes the standard, which means everywhere you can access it. The way a woman dresses, if you look at it, you can say that's a normal way. I'm not talking of aberrations. A normal thing is when it has caught up with a significant proportion of society or a significant proportion of your universe. Number two, another thing that defines it becomes a pattern that is over time. Now, mark you, I said we are migrating to it. We are living in the time of trial and error. We are living in the time of reaction, not reality. We have simply reacted. Nobody prepared for what we are going through. No company budgeted for the realities that they faced in 2020. No company, meaning that everything came as accident. I am saying what we look at as the new is not you yet. It's only, what is that word I'm trying to say? We are in a gestation period. We are in a gestation period. When digital becomes normal, it will permeate a higher percentage of society. It will become the way to go. And what defined the old way, which is analog, will then become another thing, will no longer be the normal. In a study conducted by Lagos Business School, I don't have all the statistics in my head, but if I was to open my pages, one of the things that came up is that about 49 or 47% of CEOs felt that they would go back, if I'm quoting right, they would go back to the normal way after the post-COVID. When you do a little sampling of your immediate environment, people are waiting to go back to the old normal. People are waiting. It's only a few organizations, the ones that were prepared before. Remember, I said that from 1950 down to 1990, during the Internet of Things, WWW, some organizations, but they form an insignificant minority. I have attached to the book draft, loads and loads of companies that were doing commerce, full-time, e-time, but they don't represent the standard. They don't represent the normal. They don't represent the majority. They are still an insignificant. That's what I'm arguing. It is better for us to use now to prepare life when it will become normal.
I fully agree with you, Joachim, as I have some hands up. We have room for just one more question, no more than that. And let's see if the RISMA on the left of our screen is ready. Turn your mic on, the RISMA, and there we go. The floor is yours.
That Friday, that collaboration is not working does not mean it is not desirable. That's all I can tell you.
All right, the RISMA. The RISMA.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Valtin. Let me congratulate the presenter for the quality of the presentation. I noticed that everyone is thinking positively instead of the concern about the management of the COVID-19 and its impact on the global governance. So, from my point of view, COVID-19 is early warning about the world, the society that we are building. My question is, in fact, in practice, regarding what happened inside the countries and among the countries, in which manner COVID-19 could be opportunities for the global society.
Well, in what way the COVID-19 can yield opportunities for the global community? I think this is a question that we have both raised and answered throughout this symposium. Several other presentations were focused very specifically on this topic, talking about opportunities here and there during and beyond the pandemic. But I don't know, briefly, as we get into the end of your presentation, Joachim, I don't know if you have a new insight about this topic.
Yeah, I like that question, and I think it was very roundedly answered by past participants and presenters.
Yes.
And particularly Adiola dealt with that. I would be taking us back to answer that. The only thing I want us to understand, and that is the statement I want everybody to go home with. If we take our reactionary situation as the normal, we will miss the target. We must use now as a time to reflect, as a time to begin to ask, what does the future hold for us? How do we prepare to play? I can tell you, in Nigeria, where the pandemic has largely ceased, people have returned to the old way. If they were doing the normal thing, they would never go to the old way. And so for a few companies like ours that are being virtual, I can tell you about 2 months ago, a new policy was that we would go to the office once every fortnight. The reason is because individuals were beginning to agitate to shake hands and hug and see and touch physically their colleagues. We have not developed the mindset for the virtual. Let's be very honest with ourselves. We have not developed it, and it's something that takes time. We're going to migrate. It is a transition. It is not an automatic. You don't set a reset button. What you do is tuning up and tuning down. And as you are tuning up and tuning, we will gradually get to that. It may take us the next 10 years, 20 years to adopt the new normal, and it becomes the universal practice.
Thank you very much, Joachim. Again, that was a very, very important presentation, very adequate understanding and analysis of the pandemic. We commend you, we congratulate you for this really outstanding performance, Dr. Joachim, and we do hope if we invite you again at the next symposium, you will be ready to join us and provide more ideas to our AIU family, regardless of the topic which eventually might be considered. Thank you very much again. Dr. Lambert, if you are around, if you would tell us who the next presenter is.
Oh, Dr. Valfin. Yes, the next presenter will be Antoine Nirajide.
Okay.
Let me get this all set up before we get started here. I have to make Antoine.
Okay. As you are doing this, let me remind our attendees, the actual topic for this symposium was individual opportunities during the pandemic, which means every single presentation we have attended so far was, to whatever extent, focused on the concept of opportunities. Things been scarce to some degree during this pandemic, and every presenter had that topic in mind, whether they were talking about agriculture, about whatever field they were interested in, the focus was on opportunities. And this is exactly what we are going to get right now, assuming that Dr. Lambert is ready for the technological aspect of it. Opportunity for digital transformation. That's the topic. Antoine Nirajide, doing a doctorate in public health.
Hold on, let me get the recording started.
Right, from